Hey guys, Crayon here. In this video I'll be going over a Frost Death Knight PvE guide that relate to stats, talents, glyphs and DPS rotation. To start off with, we'll go over the basic stat priority that Frost Death Knights will need. Your priority stat will be strength, followed by mastery, followed by multi-strike, which equals the haste, then versatility and crit. So the reason why strength is your number one stat is because strength is your main stat in general. Followed by that, it's mastery. The reason why you need mastery when you're playing Frost Death Knight is because it increases your Frost Strike damage and your Howling Blast damage. This is huge if you're playing dual wield, as those will be your main priority abilities anyway. Followed by that, you need multi-strike. The reason why you need multi-strike is because it has a chance to hit another time for 30% of the effectiveness that you hit to begin with. So if you hit for 100k, you will proc straight after that for 30% of what you just hit, which is why you need multi-strike, because it helps sustain your DPS. After that, it will be haste. The reason why multi-strike equal haste is because if you don't like the multi-strike playstyle and you feel that you don't have enough runes, then you can use haste instead of multi-strike as your second stat. It's based on your personal preference. I personally prefer multi-strike over haste anyway. After, it's versatility, then it's followed by crit. The last two aren't that big, as they don't benefit Frost Death Knights in the slightest if you're playing dual wield, so I would say not to try and stat those if possible. Now moving on to the talents. As you can see, the talents are pretty laid out for you, as everything is just based on personal playstyle. I'll go over them to give you an insight of why I chose what I did and how you can change them based on your own playstyle. So the level 56 talents are Plague Bearer, Plague Leech and Unholy Blight. If you're starting out on DK and you're not level 100, I would suggest using Unholy Blight. If you're level 100 and you don't want to manage many diseases, I would say go for Necrotic Plague, Plague Leech combo. The reason for this is because Necrotic Plague is a one single dot, which means that Plague Leech will always consume that one disease. If you didn't have Plague Leech, you'd always have to try and manage both your Blood Plague and your Frost Fever just to Plague Leech at the same time, which would cause complications, since the only way to generate them would be from Plague Strike, Icy Touch or Outbreak. Anyway, moving on. Lichborn, Anti-Magic Zone or Purgatory. Again, it's personal choice on this row, as it doesn't benefit you that much. However, I would either choose Lichborn or Purgatory. The reason for this is because Lichborn grants you 10% leech and Purgatory prevents you from dying for a few seconds. 58. Death's Advance, Chillblains or Asphyxiate. Here I would basically just choose Death's Advance. I wouldn't bother with any of these, as you're not going to be relying on rooting or slowing targets, and you're not going to be stunning. Therefore, Death's Advance gives you the movement speed, and it's a little burst sprint that you can use to get out of CC if needed, or AoE on the floor. For the level 60 talents, it's Blood Tap, Runic Empowerment and Runic Corruption. This row is down to how you prefer to play and how you like to manage yourself. If you prefer managing your own runes and stuff like that, I would suggest Blood Tap, as you can convert the Blood Tap charges into a death rune. If you're not comfortable with using that, I would then decide to go Runic Corruption, as it's more beneficial than Runic Empowerment, as it gives you 100% rune regeneration by 100% for 3 seconds every time you use a Runic Power ability. So I would choose either Blood Tap or Runic Corruption. Level 75, Death Pact, Death Siphon, Conversion. This row again is just all about survival. I would personally pick Death Siphon. The reason for this is because Death Siphon heals you for 400% of the damage you deal. So the more attack power and strength that you have, the more this heals. And when you use Pillar of Frost, it also increases the healing that Death Siphon provides. Therefore, I would choose Death Siphon because it's a little bit of damage and it's a huge heal, whereas Death Pact doesn't heal that much and it absorbs healing, which means that if you're low, it won't heal for you, as you'll be absorbing it instead. And Conversion it consumes too much rune power to be any use in PvE. So Death Siphon or Death Pact, depending on what you prefer. The level 90 talent, I would choose Gorfin's Grasp, because Remorseless Winter's not going to be useful and Desecrated Ground isn't going to be that useful either. However, Desecrated Ground can be useful if there's going to be an AoE stun from a boss, or if there's any CC that you want to get out of and you can't, then Desecrated Ground becomes useful. But for basic raiding, I would say go for Grasp, so you can AoE grip like imps from Zul'Horak and so forth. The level 100 talents are again based on your playstyle. I would suggest Necrotic Plague with Plague Leech, as I stated at the start of this talent guide. However, you could go Defile if you prefer the defiles for gameplay, or you can go Breath of Sindragosa. Remember, if you do play with Breath of Sindragosa, you need to make sure that you go for the Unholy Blight playstyle, as Plague Leech and Breath of Sindragosa aren't that great together. Again, that's just my personal preference. However, I would just say stick to the Necrotic Plague and Plague Leech build to start with as a Frost Death Knight in PvE. Next, I want to go over the glyphs that you will need as a Frost Death Knight in PvE. Most of these glyphs are optional, then none of them are actually recommended, as all of them are just based on what you prefer. However, the ones that I have chosen is Glyph of Icy Touch, Glyph of Regenerative Magic, and I'll be using Glyph of Empowerment and not Runic Power. The reason for this is because Icy Touch allows you to dispel a magic effect on the target. This means if you're doing a dungeon or a boss and they have a buff that heals them or gives them any type of magical power, you can dispel it via Icy Touch. The reason why I use Regenerative Magic is because a lot of bosses will use magical damage, and every time you AMS that magical damage, your CD of AMS is reduced by 50% based on the absorption that's left remaining. Therefore, if you get hit from, let's say 50% of your absorption effect, the last 50% will be based on reducing your CD of AMS. And lastly, I use Glyph of Empowerment because it's an extra heal that's beneficial. Since you don't need any of these as a mandatory glyph, I would recommend using Empowerment for an extra heal on demand. These are the glyphs that I would choose for PvE. Again, it's all optional, there is no recommended requirement. Lastly, the minor glyphs, I would say you would need Glyph of Army of the Dead so they don't taunt on pull. This will be beneficial because if you use Army of the Dead when you pull, they won't taunt off the tank straight away. So I would recommend getting this glyph, but that's the only glyph that's required and mandatory for raiding, else it's just whichever you prefer. Okay, lastly in this video I want to go over the basic DPS rotation for Frost Death Knight. So, for the basic DPS rotation, what you're going to do is, at the start of a fight, 7 seconds before the pull on the countdown, you want to use Army of the Dead. As soon as it hits 7 seconds and you use Army, you then use your pre-pot on 2 seconds. Once you use a pre-pot, you're then going to use Pillar of Frost with Outbreak. This will apply your disease and activate your burst. After that, you're going to start with Death and Decay, Howling Blast, and then use Obliterate or Frost Strike depending if you have the Runic Power. If you don't have the Runic Power, use Obliterate. If you can't Obliterate, use Howling Blast. And if you don't have runes for any of these, use Empowered Rune Weapon so you can keep your burst sustained. And after that, you want to just keep your rune management with Plague Leech and Blood Tap. After that, you just want to make sure you use your Plague Leech only if you're out of runes so you can sustain your DPS, and use your Blood Tap charges when you can. Anyway guys, this concludes the video for the Frost DK PvE guide. I hope that you liked it. Please like, subscribe, share the video. Again, if there's nothing you understand fully, don't be afraid to just send me a message, or again, you can look at the external links that I've sent to other websites which can also provide a more detailed guide. Anyway, as for now, thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.